Hi guys, this is Lada from astrolada.com with your April 2019 video horoscopes for each of the 12 signs. And April is going to be an extremely dynamic month. Guys, till the 20th of April we have absolutely no fixed signs. Planets are, in changeable, mutable signs, so there'll be a lot of fluidity, a lot of changes that are happening, but we have a powerful alignment that happens so rarely that's happening in April. We're going to have 4 planets in their own sign of exaltation. It will be powerful manifesting time, but with a lot of changes. So it's not going to be fixed, it's not going to be fluid, but some tremendous, amazing results can happen. So I'm going to lead you sign by sign through each one of those influences. For each sign, I just wanted to let you know that we're starting a predictive course with Victor. Victor is an astrologer everyone probably knows already from the channel. He had the best-selling course ever. I mean, we saw like 300 places, and about 100 people came and said, we want him to teach predictive techniques, everything he knows, because he has like a 90% predictive success, which is so rare. I mean, anything above 50 is amazing. So he decided that he's going to teach all his techniques, which are based on classical astrology, classical predictive techniques used by the ancient people. And he's going to do it in 10 weeks module. And it's going to be 40% off if you get your seat till the 17th of April. So it's only $300. Otherwise, it's around $500. So yes, like a course for the summer and the spring, guys. Really, I'm very excited about it, to learn about that as well. And we're also, don't forget to check our written horoscopes for April 2019, which is just $7.99, and it's 300 pages. It's like a textbook. I've done it with my teacher, all the aspects, transits. So after that, you can just use it even to learn astrology through it, because there's an explanation of all the possible combinations, what it means, so you can keep that as our astrology book of 300 pages with different meanings of planets and degrees. So that's an amazing piece of love, work of love and effort. So check this out. So, all right, so let's start with the signs. So Aquarius, this April kicks off very deep psychological process for you, and something that might be dismantling your whole personality, who you are, who you believe you are, who you want to be. There can be a change starting in April that lasts for about a year, after which you might not be able to recognize yourself. And this process is starting now because your planet, Saturn rules you, is basically stopping in April. It's going to stop moving, and it does that every year, so this is nothing too big. But it's stopping, and it feels like you're going to slow down, and you're going to start thinking, I need to change something. Something has to totally change in regards to my life. And not only that, the big changes are happening because Saturn will be joined by Pluto in the South Node. And it's not exactly to the second conjunction, but they're within 1 degree, all of them. And this process will take about 1 year. But now you're slowing down, and now something is starting to turn around in your life. And because Saturn is in your 12th house, the 12th house is all about endings, completions, letting go of something that's no longer necessary. And Saturn naturally rules things that we're holding on to out of fear, out of insecurity. Because we think without this thing, it's like, basically imagine what Saturn is like, hanging on to a ledge, and you can't see, if you let go, how far you're going to fall down. You might kill yourself, it's dark. So you're just hanging on with lust, energy, with last uh, life force. And maybe you've been hanging on there for many years. Maybe it's something that, some kind of fear, some kind of self-identity that you've had for many lifetimes even, and that now is finally the time for you to let go, because the 12th house is the house of letting go, and where it takes you. And we always feel like, oh, we'll let go and we'll fall down and we'll die, and it's never going to be the same, and how our life will be destroyed. But it's actually, you let go and you realize that's how high it was, and you just fall on the ground, and you realize, like, why was I holding on like a crazy maniac person? What was I so afraid to let go of? And so this letting go is not going to be more difficult than any other change. A change in life is just part of a big fear that you have and that you've been having, because your security complex, which is what Saturn rules, our security, where we're fearful, where we're miserable about. So you've been holding on to something. Many of you Aquarius, on a deep level, maybe past lifetimes or whatever, you've been holding on to something that is about now to be released, because the South Node that Saturn is connecting to, is the planet of release, of letting go, of liberation, and it's connected to losing something. It is connected to letting go of something. The South Node is a planet of loss, but in this case, because Saturn rules our fears, our inhibitions, our self-created prisons, being in the 12th house is also something that 12th house rules prison, so something that has imprisoned you, might be for many lifetimes, because Pluto is part of there. Pluto rules something that's so deeply ingrained in you. It's complexes and psychological states that come from many lifetimes. So all of those are awakening. So you might feel a deep fear, some of you, that is awakening in April, in March. It might carry on. Sorry, April, May. It might carry on for a whole year, because Saturn, you as well, are joining with those deeply seated psychological complexes for many lifetime. And from the South Node wants to release them, but you don't know what's on the other side. You don't know if you drop where you're gonna fall. That's why you're so afraid, and you might feel like something's about to happen. Everything's about to change, but is the time now? And the South Node also comes with the energy of, okay, release. There's nothing more to fight for. There's nothing more to struggle for. You cannot just go on the other side, basically. And you're just gonna feel, okay, I'm ready to let go of this. So you can gonna kick off a process of letting go of something that has defined you for lifetimes, or at least for a lifetime, or for at least for the previous 28 years, because your planet Saturn that rules you, it just it's just finishing a 28-year cycle, 28, 29. And next year it's going to enter our sign, Aquarius, whether it's your Aquarius sun, moon, or rising. Usually the rising is the most important. So you're going to start a totally new cycle of life. But before you start it, there is this powerful release that has to be happen in the 12th house of losses, of releasing, being. And usually when Saturn transits one's 12th house, a person can feel in prison, or that there are a lot of losses and letting go, but they don't necessarily start as a transformed person the next cycle. You're not going to start the same person, because Pluto is transforming you. The South Node is releasing old karma. So they can be like, for the next 1 year, starting from April, like a burst of releasing of old karma. And if your actions have been good, there'll be some great releases. There will be like, say, you've been a good person who is not consciously striving to hurt others. Creating bad karma is evil when you do something on purpose to harm others. How many of us are really like that? 90% of humans, they're trying to live their life without harming others. They just harm others inadvertently because they're in pain themselves. But if you've been a good, honest person trying to live an honest life, this release, it will be like a burden being taken off your shoulders. It will be like something you've been dragging, and you don't even realize how heavy it is. You don't even realize that you've closed yourself in a self-imposed prison, but you've been carrying it for a long time. It might be addictions, it might be self-sabotaging behaviors, it might be fears from past lifetimes. 12th house also rules the past lifetimes. From past lifetimes that fears, especially connected to Pluto, to death, past lifetimes with trauma, with death, with some catastrophic, cataclysmic events. And those feelings might start bubbling to the surface. And you might start feeling fearful. And you might start feeling something is happening in my subconscious, maybe in your dreams. 12 houses, they can be a powerful release happening through your dreams. You might even dream violent dreams, or dreams that are connected to past lifetimes. There is a huge opening for you, Aquarius. And it's starting now from April, May. Those 2 months is very intense. Then again, towards the end of the year, we'll speak when it repeats again. So you won't have to release everything in one go, because that might be a bit intense, but gradually, little by little. For some of you, this process has started already. Some of you are more sensitive. The planets are already within a degree or two, all those. So there is a lot of past life karma that's being released that is painful, that is. And as I said, if you've been a good person, normal person, if you've been trying to do the best you can, this will be like a release from prison for you. And you will realize, oh my God, I did not know I was carrying that much shit, But it's gonna be like basically transform you. If you're at this state of consciousness and level emotionally, you can climb here after this release, which means that all of a sudden, on a constant 24/7 basis, or maybe not 24/7, but consistently, you'll be much happier, much lighter, much more positive person. I never thought that it was possible to shift consciousness like that, but it happened to me once after I met my husband. So I know it's possible now. So if you've been for years feeling kind of shitty, kind of this way, or even like really in pain and hurting for no even reason, this is because of all the pain that's gathered from past lifetimes or previous traumas that you don't even remember. They're so buried. It's in the 12th house. And now those feelings are being stirred. And there's a lot of discontent or worry or emotional, kind of fear almost for some of us. How am I gonna, what is happening? Something's gonna change. I'm not sure what it is. Trust this process. Relax into it. Allow it. So your planet Saturn is slowing down and is starting to look within in the 12th house and starting to see and to really feel, because when you slow down, you start being more present. So your planet is slowing down, almost turning backward. So you start being more present within. You turn within and you're going to see what structures are no longer working. So for some of you, it might be quite an introspective month that brings them back to the past, that makes them think about the past. The South Node is the past. Even past lifetime, some of you might remember, as I said. Some of you might be just past childhood or early traumas from a few years, pain that you're carrying. And even if you're not consciously aware what it is, it might appear in your dreams. It might just appear as feelings, as premonitions. It might appear as just something that is, that is like a volcano that's about to explode and to be released. So, trust this process. If something is screaming that it needs to be released, and you're holding on, don't fear that process. Let go. I give it a green light. Let go. Start from April. And by the time you'll be after that, while Saturn goes retrograde from May for you guys for a few months, 4 or 5 months, while Saturn is retrograde, you'll be trying to settle into this new identity, into those changes that have happened. You try to implement them, to understand them. And then when Saturn starts moving direct by the end of the year, and then the start of 2020, it's going to enter our sign. So a powerful new beginnings about to happen. So be prepared to release stuff, and they're connected to a lot of pain from the past, a lot of self-made blockages and structures as well, and fears, and subconscious as well. And Saturn rules you, so it might be even who you are as a person. It might be your direction in life that is being revisited. It might be your overall path, because Saturn is you, wherever you're heading, and you're kind of starting to say, okay, the old me is dying. Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, is dying, and South Node is past lifetimes and the past. So releasing that old self. Okay, it's almost like you're tired. You can't anymore. You're like, okay, I'm tired from whatever I've been carrying. I'm ready to let go. So let me not repeat myself too much, but I wanted to make because that's probably the most important overall on a big scale influence. Now let's see more on a monthly influence, what's happening. Jupiter is turning retrograde in your 11th house, guys, which 11th house is gains. So maybe an opportunity to make money that you've discussed about can come to you over the next 4 or 5 months again, while Jupiter is retrograde. Maybe you had an idea of how to have more gains or certain income, but you just didn't have time to act on it, an opportunity. Now it can come back to you. It's not a totally new thing. You've already thought about it. You've already spoke about it. You might have even started it, but you've already had that idea. You've already thought that maybe the income that you're receiving now, you're dissatisfied with it, but you just didn't have the time to act on it. Well, the retrograde period of Jupiter in your 11th house of gains will give you exactly that opportunity. And to say, just like Mercury retrograde, they say, oh, Mercury retrograde, nothing's going well. So does it mean that Jupiter retrograde, my 11th house, no gains, they all stop? No. If anything, during Mercury retrograde periods, I make the best observations and changes in regards to where it's transiting. And now for us, Aquarius is going to Jupiter is going retrograde in the 11th house, so you have the chance to implement some projects that you thought, some goals. The 11th house is long-term goals and projects of any sort, something that you dream about, something that you wish about, but you have to put 3 times more effort. That is the tricky part of a retrograde planet, because a retrograde planet is 3 times closer to us, so it requires 3 times more focused energy. It demands it, it imposes it in us. 3 times more focused effort, but the results are 3 times more lasting. So something that you've thought about as a goal, as a source of income, as dream of yours as well, you have a chance to start making it, or you have a chance to improve it, or if you're working, if you already have that, to change something there. This is a retrograde. You see what's not working, you're like, I can increase my income. It's like I've been doing things in the wrong way. Let me, I've been thinking that my income is not good enough, for example. So now how do I increase it? And Jupiter retrograde makes you do the hard work. So you're gonna, especially when it's in the 11th house, this comes through reaching out to more people, social marketing of some sort, redoing your strategy in regards to that. And Jupiter rules principles, knowledge and principles. So some knowledge of principles that you've been thinking about or hearing or reading till April, from April onwards, you'll be able to start, to implement and to see how those principles work in actual life, so in real life. And it's harder when you're trying something new. And again, they say, oh, Jupiter retrograde, don't start anything new. No, you start something new, but you've thought already about it. It's just new ideas don't, new ideas are not usually forthcoming, and things slow down a little bit there. Yes, they slow down because you're changing something there. You're seeing like what is not working in regards to my goals and dreams, or in regards to my income and earnings, so in regards to my social circle and friends, you revise that a little bit. So yes, in the process of revision, you slow down. You don't move so fast. But the final results can be so much more rewarding. You might revise some of your friendships, some of your social circles, some of your goals, economic and financial, and by the time Jupiter starts moving direct, you might be making 3 times as much, or you might be having 3 times as big an audience or following. The 11th house is reaching large audiences and following, if you're someone that does that, or larger clientele. But because you revised something, you changed something, you saw it from a different perspective while Jupiter was retrograde, and you implemented the different principles, different beliefs. Jupiter is beliefs. So maybe you've heard something about that you can achieve. Your dream should not be small. That your success in life is only as big as your dreams. And you're like, now Jupiter turns retrograde in your 11th house of goals, and you're like, okay, how do I implement? Now you're going to see it in action, how this actually, you might be able to now really implant those new beliefs that you've heard. Maybe you took a course, maybe knowledge, something inspired you, and they apply to your friendships, to your social circle, to your influence, to others. All right, so interesting times. Working some gain plans as well. And then you have Mars entering your 5th house. Good. Mars in the 5th house is great till the middle of May, so for a month and a half. Mars is the planet of action. When it's in another air sign, which is Gemini for you, it supports your actions. So it's going to feel with more ease that you can flow. When you try and do something, even though your planet Saturn is slowing down, you feel like things might be slowing down, as I said, turning retrograde and stuff, but still you can move forward because Mars is supporting you in easy aspect to Aquarius. So you'll feel like you're more... so it's like when you try to open doors usually open easier. And it's also a good time for having more fun. when Mars is in the fifth house. Definitely, Mars energizes. It loves the fifth house. Mars, fifth house is have fun, enjoy yourself, be physically more active, and actually, you can even pick up some sport. And I'm notorious for not being very sporty, but every time Mars transits my fifth house, I'll pick up a sport for a month, for example. And because it's in Gemini, it might be in pairs with like tennis and ping pong or something like that to do in pairs. Gemini is a pair, you know, with group of people, something like that. Or you can be just more, have a bit more hobbies and fun outings outside. You can feel more joyful. But if you have children, it's the fifth house, your children can become a little bit more willful, or you have to be active more because of them, taking them out, do stuff with them. But your children might be a little bit of a handful. But if Mars is making good aspects from Gemini in your horoscope, you know, that's just going to be invigorating times. If you're single, that can be a good time to date and to proactively go after what you want. Especially fifth house is the things that we uh, love to do, and the things that someone that we really like, for example, and to be more proactive in reaching out to them and communicate with them, because it's in the sign of Gemini. This can happen in April. And also, if you have some creative project as well, it can be, definitely you can go after it, put a lot of energy into it. If there's some creative blockage, usually when Mars transits the fifth house, it gets unblocked. And you can definitely, fifth house is new ideas, your own creative new ideas, whether it's for business, for personal life, whatever. And Mars really speeds that process, and so new ideas can come to you, and you're gonna act on them, and you're gonna feel excited to act on them. So yes, good time for new hobbies, all such things. Just as I said, children might be a little bit of a and then, or they might be starting something new in their life. They might be more active. Your lovers can be more, lovers or love life can become more dynamic. Finally, something happening. And then you have Venus and Mercury in your second house. So these are two beautiful planets, especially Venus is exalted when it's in its own sign of exaltation. It manifests it. So financially, you can manifest something. Like second house is things that we consider valuable, beautiful. Whether it's you might till the middle of April, till the 20th of April, you might buy something beautiful. You can attract something beautiful into your life, some more sensual experiences, good food, good pleasant stuff, for massages and things like that. The five senses to be indulged in, anything you consider beautiful, and uh, how you give to yourself self-support basically as well. This is good for it. And also money can come in more easily when Venus and Mercury in the second house, definitely. So that's my prediction for you guys. Sorry I focused too much on the Saturn thing, but I think it's so important for many of us Aquarius. Thank you so much. And do join us for the 10-week predictive course on classical predictive methods. Perfection, solar returns, Spiridaria. These are things probably you haven't heard. They're very simple. Ancient techniques made simple with Victor, and there is like I think we can do a payment plan in 3 installments. So $299 can be paid over maybe 3 months, but it's 40% off till the 17th of April. After that, it becomes $499, because that's a very in-depth and powerful course. So thank you.